I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. First item on our agenda is citizens' time. Anyone here wishes to speak for citizens' time? Anyone online? Seeing none, we'll move on. We have an appointment. Chief Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight I'm before you to ask for the appointment of Deputy Chief Robert Kirshner to the position of Special Police Officer in the Burlington Police Department. Unfortunately, the Deputy Chief, a.k.a. Moose, could not be here tonight. He was ready to come over Monday night, but due to the storm, he has a conflict tonight. But you know, I know when I speak about him, there's nobody in this room who doesn't know who he is and what he brought to the Burlington Police Department for the last 37 years to the day. He was appointed as a full-time officer back on February 20th, 1989, and went out after 37 years of admirable service back on this past Friday, February 20th of 2026. He rose through the ranks, attaining the rank of sergeant in 2002, lieutenant in 2011, captain in 2018, and finally deputy chief in 2021. I had the pleasure of working basically side by side with him since about 2015 when we were both made administrative lieutenants and also handled the 4 to 12 shift. So from that time until the very end when he walked out the door Friday at about 3:30, I've worked every single day with him. And, you know, aside from his professional accomplishments, the biggest void that we're going to see within the police department is the personal void that he leaves. I said at his retirement luncheon, there is no person that fought for the underdog or saw the good in every single person the way he did. And, you know, to be able to bring him back as a special officer is going to help us in many ways. Number one, it allows us to kind of close the vacuum. I don't want to let somebody with 37 years of institutional knowledge about the town and the department leave. Also allowing him to keep his foot in the door with all of the people that he's brought on and mentored and been a friend to, I think is huge. So he'll continue to be an excellent ambassador for the department in the town. And I think I can say this without any offense to anybody here, that if he would come in here as a Burlington resident again and run for select board, or if we had a mayor form of government, he'd probably win in a landslide, because there isn't anybody who's, whether you met him one time or you knew him for 50 years, he always knew your name and could say something nice about you. So I really am, you know, thrilled to be able to bring his name before the town administrator and get a vote on him to keep him, you know, with a foot in the door here. So with that, I'm looking forward to putting his career into the history books and him into the history books as a person, but I would respectfully ask the town administrator to appoint him tonight as a special officer effective tomorrow morning, and we'll see what happens when he works his first detail. So thank you.
Anyone have any words they want to add for this?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mentioned a lot of the stuff at his going away party last week, so I don't want to reiterate that, but what I will do is every time we appoint a retiree as a special police officer, as the chief said, institutional knowledge, we're putting an experienced, certified police officer on the streets of Burlington. In the event of something really bad happening, you now have not just the 4 or 5 patrol cars that are on the road at your disposal, you have sometimes up to 10, 15, 20 certified police officers on the street that have all this knowledge, all this experience, that will jump in and assist the officers, the full-time officers. So the retirees, the special police officers, have to maintain the exact same standards that the full-time officers do. They have to do the same in-service training, same qualifications. Granted, they don't get as much specialized training, but a special police officer in the town of Burlington is just like having a regular full-time officer, but they on a part-time basis, but they have all that knowledge, all that experience, and the younger guys do look up to them, even if they technically have seniority over them. But I always say that when we appoint a retiring officer to this position.
Thank you, Jim. Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief. You know, I'm glad to hear, Chief, that you know, part of keeping guys on as specials is to help with the distribution of, that knowledge base, right? That's always been, I think, my biggest fear. And, over the last 7 years, I've watched every guy I've basically grown up with on the force retire, and appointing all the new guys. And, you can sense that, not that there's a gap, but that there's a definite age, shift in the police department. That's naturally occurring, right? But I mean, it's going to be weird not seeing Moose around. I mean, we'll still, it's not like he's leaving, right? But you'll notice him in a detail, that's for sure. Because I'm pretty sure he's still the biggest, cop we have in town. So obviously, I wish him all the best, and cannot thank him enough for his 37 years of service. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Chief, for coming out tonight and being able to make this appointment and keep Moose on in some capacity, but obviously he is going to be missed. I was unfortunately away last week, so I wasn't able to attend his retirement party, but I heard there were a lot of really kind words extended as warranted, and I just want to extend my gratitude to Moose, to Chief Kirchner, for all of his many years of service. And I haven't been in this role for as long as some of my colleagues, but I can say Moose has a way of putting people at ease that is really admirable, especially in a position like this, in the leadership role that he had. He can bring humor and levity to any situation, and it's really, I think that quality is going to be missed, but glad to keep him on in some capacity in this role. So thank you, Moose, for all of your years of service, but glad we'll still be seeing your face around town.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And you guys all pretty much said it, and Chief, you said it very well about Deputy Chief Kirchner. He's a great guy, and everyone in town loves him. Everybody knows him. And I wish he was here today because I have a little story I want to share about Moose and myself. I was going to share it at his retirement, but I had to take Brody to the doctor. This happened about 25, 30 years ago, and it's not my proudest story, but it's a good story that tells you about Moose. And I've been wanting to tell him this, remind him of this for a while, but I just couldn't do it because I really don't like talking about it. But this has been no better time than right now. I was driving up Cambridge Street, and as a younger person, I had a penchant for driving fast, as we'll say, as many young people do. And I came up Cambridge Street over by Simon's Park here, probably heading towards the high school, going faster than I should have. And all of a sudden, this pickup truck comes bombing up on my left-hand side, and this hulk of a man starts pointing to me, yelling, pull over, not in uniform or anything. And I was scared out of my neck. I thought, what was wrong? Did I have a flat tire? Is my car smoking? I didn't really know Moose at the time. And he pulled me over, and he comes over the window and goes, what the are you doing? Why are you driving so fast? And I was scared out of my nuts. He goes, what's your hurry? And I had no excuse. He said, slow down. There are kids in this town. You don't have to drive that fast. And I was scared out of my wits. And he said, hey, and what's with the Florida plates? I had gotten into an accident, and I was driving a rental car, so Moose even noticed that. So I told them, and I promise you this day, I have not driven down Cambridge Street more than 5 or 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, so thank you, Moose, and I'm sure the residents of Burlington thank you for one less speeder on the roads. But it was definitely a Moose moment, and as Sarah said, he has, other than this, a great way of making you feel comfortable, and he always had a smile on his face, is always friendly, and that story kind of illustrates his dedication to how much he cared about the town and being safe in the town and being a cautious driver and telling a little crazy young guy to slow down on the road. So I love that story, and that's what I'll always remember. And we'll miss you, Moose, and I'm sure we'll see you around town, but we'll gladly, appreciate his 37 years and all of his hard work. Very thankful, and we're all appreciative of it. So with that, I'll take a motion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I didn't grow up here, but even I have a Moose story that I can't share on TV. But I was able to attend Moose's send-off, and it was quite a send-off. Great job by Tom and everybody else over there for giving him the send-off he deserves. And Jimmy got to say some nice words. And it was fun watching Moose shake a little when they said that I was up next to say some words. But because he is such a great guy, all he got was nice words from me, too. So it is my pleasure to appoint Robert Moose Kirchner to the position of Special Police Officer effective today, and I ask the board to waive their 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose, abstain. That's 4-0. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you very much, and I'll make sure I send him the link of the meeting so he
Yes,
can
please.
rehash that story. And if you're ever looking for him, just go down to True North. He was down there today. So. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess next item on our agenda is the budget's approval, but I think we should go out of order and take our Public Arts Committee so they don't have to sit through us going through budgets. I mean, they can knock that out real quick. So you guys want to come up, introduce yourselves?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, board members. I am Barbara LaRue, Chair of the Public Arts Committee, and to my right is George Ratchevitz, who is a member of the Public Arts Committee, but also the Director of Art for the Burlington School System. That's correct. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you all have the handout that I sent to Lynn earlier this week. And I'm not going to read it to you because you all can do that. But before we get started on what I'm asking for tonight, or what we're asking for tonight, I wanted to thank this committee for the decision you made last year, allowing us to temporarily move the sculptures from their previous location to the Common for the duration of the police station construction. It's been a great change for us and for the town, and it's been very well received. I think they look great there, and I appreciate your indulgence in letting us move them there for that period of time. I'm here tonight to present two different ideas to the Select Board from the Public Arts Committee. And the first one is not a really big project. It's a continuation of something that we talked about last year. Last year, we had one of the electrical boxes on the Common painted by a teenage artist that lives in Burlington. I think he did a great job. It's been very well received. And now we'd like to move on and paint a second box on the Common, the one that is most closely located next to the police station on the Common across the street from the police station. And there's a picture in your packet of the actual box, so you can see where it's located. A local artist who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, she was coming on Monday, but because of the storm, she couldn't make it. Raksha Soni has offered to design and paint the box, and she has prepared 3 different designs for you to consider. They are in your packet. I personally think you're going to have a hard time choosing because they look terrific. And I think they didn't print for us, but they have them. And we would be happy to answer your questions. And of course, if you fall in love with all 3 designs, we would be happy to find other electrical boxes to paint them on if you just can't choose.
All right. Any questions or comments from the group?
For the electrical box.
Nick, yeah?
Yes.
Sure. I did.
That's not, oh,
The other dog.
The options for this one in particular.
oh, I
think
sent
it
them,
for-
I did send them to Lynn, but
They're on the drive.
Is it the one with the 3 on it?
there's 3 different
I got it, yeah.
designs. Oh, you have it. Thank you so much.
I just shared the wrong one, I guess.
I clicked all the links and didn't open the box this time.
So the theme that we asked Raksha to work with was community, and I think she's done a great job. They're very colorful and engaging.
Yeah, these are all nice. I did have a chance to look at her artwork on her website. And I think the style is great. I like the diversity of, each individual artist kind of bringing, their own personality to pieces around town. My larger question around the boxes is, have we looked into whether physical paint like acrylic versus wraps is more long-lasting / easier to maintenance over time?
I'm going to let,
Well, I think you asked that last year about the utility box that we were paying. Yeah. Yes, I don't know if one is longer lasting than the other. I think if you use the right kinds of paints and you coat it with a UV varnish, it's going to be great, and it'll last a while. I have a mural that I did I think in 2000. It's still up in Boston, and a little bit of chipping, but that's after 25 years. Sure. So but to have something hand painted, handcrafted, there's a personal touch that you're not going to get with something wrapped.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Well, I mean, in terms of three options, I don't know if I have a preference, maybe the first or the third, given a quick glance, but yeah, I mean, I'm in support of this either way. I think it's appropriate, it's very nice, and I think the look of the comic. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jim?
Hey, Mr. Chairman, you know I support this. I actually met Raksha at an IAB event 2 or 3 years ago, and I had this discussion with her. And then when the PAC, the Public Arts Committee, opened up its discussion regarding this, I remembered having that discussion with Raksha, and I emailed her. And she couldn't believe I remembered our conversation, but, so I put Barbara and Raksha in communication with each other, and here we are today. She does all the artwork for the IAB website, I believe, as well. But I'm going to have a hard time choosing which one. I really am. I'm almost going to say I'm leaning to the one with the gazebo because it's the common, but I don't know. They're all great. So I'm going to leave it at that and let somebody else talk.
if you want to approve more than one, we would be happy to come back here with another location in the near future.
Sarah?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you both for coming out tonight. I really love this project and seeing all of these, or it's only been one so far, but I hope to see more electrical boxes in town get this kind of treatment. They're really kind of eyesores on their own, so why not? It's like a blank canvas, basically. Yeah, I love the ideas that were put forth. I feel like because this art is so great, I would just put it in the artist's hands. We're not really artists, so whichever one she finds great. I personally lean towards the second or the third, or some sort of combination of that. I like the idea of the community and the diversity in the community and the people. I think it's on the common with the gazebo, so you don't need another gazebo on the common. You already got one there. So I like a combination of the second and the third, but I really think this will provide some really great color to that area, and seeing the box that's already painted on the common with the sculptures just adds to all the art that's on the common now. So looking forward to seeing the final result, but I don't have super strong feelings about which one.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you for coming out tonight. I love this idea, and I'm in full support of it. I love the box that's already out there, and it was really well done. And I love all three also. It's tough to pick. I'm happy with all of them, so I have no preference. I'd be happy with any one of those. So they all look great to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
So would you like us to ask the artist to select her favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then, maybe we'll come back another time.
That works for me. They all look great.
I did want to also mention the box that's next to the new sign. We did look into that. Because it's state-owned, that's more complicated. So Public Arts Committee member Bob Buckley said he would look into it, but we didn't want to hold up everything because that could take a very long time. But hopefully someday we'll come back to you about that one as well. New sign looks great, though.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
for the sake of, I guess, providing a little bit of guidance, can we point the Public Arts Committee and the artist in a direction of one of the three options while giving the artist some latitude, and say we'd like it in the direction of Art of Burlington, or in the direction of I would like to kind of give a little bit more aim than just say kind of do what you kind of feel, because then we, I think, lose a little bit of the oversight
Okay.
of what's going to go on there. Not that I don't trust, right? I think it's just better that we provide that direction. And I personally would, having now stared at these for a little bit, say, in the direction of the third option, diversity, if I had to pick.
Mr. Chairman, follow-up? I'm going to be like the devil's advocate here and just say that there'd be no wording on it, because no matter, you could put the word gold on it, and someone's going to find something wrong with it.
I think if we go back to Raksha and say, Select Board liked option 3, that's what she's going to paint. She's not going to dramatically change it unless we ask for specific changes. That's my understanding.
yeah.
I'm just saying, because like I said, you could put the word puppy up there, and someone's going to go,
No
oh,
words.
put cat, you know?
No words, I agree.
No words, just to eliminate any potential
Okay,
angst.
fair.
Do you have any, if you were to pick,
You know what, I'm actually leaning toward number 2. You're right, Sarah. There is a gazebo there. I like 2, and I like the theme, togetherness. So,
so Nick is 3, you're 2. Sarah, if you had to pick?
See, like I said, I like the combination of the second and the third. I like the concept of the diversity, not just in, gender and race, but in like occupation. There's a doctor in there. We have Leahy. There's an officer in there. But then I like the second one because they're doing things together, like the togetherness. So I don't know if there's some way to combine those concepts into one.
Well, I haven't talked to her, but it's a three-dimensional thing that she's painting on, so it could be that one side is one of those designs, and the other side is the second design.
Could we, because why not make it difficult? Could we ask her to mock something up of the 2? And then we could just take a quick look at it and give the approval. 'Cause we obviously all approve it.
Yeah,
I think we just want to have an idea of what it's going to look like.
Right. I think if you want to make a vote, however you want to phrase that, I would be happy to talk to Raksha. We could have her do that, and we could forward it to you through the town administrator's office, and then you can maybe just get back to us by email to let us know if that's good for you, or do you want us to come back another day?
If I phrase it to say a combination of options 2 and 3, with the caveat that we give JD the final, check, right? Because we can't all approve it on our, outside of the meeting, but we, can do it through you. Would that be sufficient?
Sure.
And that way we can,
Okay.
we can have, Barbara, you can talk with her, George, get
Right.
together, you guys can talk with her, and then we can just do it that way.
So let me make sure I understand, so I'm giving her the correct information. We're going to ask her to take 2 and 3, and across the 4 sides of that piece, incorporate the 2 of them together. We'll submit that to JD, and he will get back to us after confirming with the board what your decision is.
I'd be fine.
Did you want to add something, JD?
Just with the approval, I think last time we just wanted to make sure that the artist checked in with Brendan and Brian, with the rec maintenance folks. So just with the same, rules to follow.
Yeah.
Nothing gets left overnight. And given that there'll be an active construction site right across the street,
Yes.
if we just know when they're planning on coming, we can run it by the
Yeah.
construction, make sure we're not going to have a big dust day, or not that we're
Okay.
ever going to have any dust, but not that we're not going to have a busy day in and out.
Yes, we want to coordinate. We don't want to make it uncomfortable and unpleasant for her as she's working. So we would definitely coordinate.
had no issues last
with
time.
Brendan, and who else should we coordinate with?
I think if they go through our office, we can let
Okay.
Brendan and Brian know.
Okay,
That way, that's anybody that would be working on the common works for them.
Okay, and again, yeah, I mean, I'm open to 2 and 3, sounds, combination would be great.
okay.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the painting of the electrical box near the police station on the common by the proposed artist, taking options 2 and 3, threads of togetherness and diversity, and combining them to then be reviewed through our office before painting commences.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Chair's also an aye. That's 4-0.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The other project we wanted to talk to you tonight about is for the summer, and it is a community mural project. The pig project, one of the things that was really fun about the pig project is that a lot of the pigs were painted by local artists. Many of them are high school students. So we thought about what else we could do to get the community engaged in creating public art. So we came up with this idea that we would like to create a mural that the community members actually paint. So last summer, George gave his honor students an assignment.
Yes, currently my AP Studio Art students, there's 4 of them. They all came up with drafts for designs for a mural that could be painted by members of the community under the supervision of an artist who would be on hand once a week. And the one you're seeing, which is the one with Grandview Farm on it, was the one that was selected by the Public Arts Committee as the strongest of the designs. We're seeing this as being an 8-foot tall mural, which would make this about 14 1/4 wide. It would be gridded off on the wall, so we'd have 1-foot squares on either the left or right side of that structure right there. Going no higher than 8, and the reason we wanted to keep it to 8 was we didn't want to have to set up staging. We didn't want to deal with any sort of risks to anyone. So something that someone could just one step on a step stool and get to the top of it was what we're looking for. The idea would be that I have a student intern who designed that. So when we started doing senior internships at the high school, that student is ready to grid off the wall, to prime it, and to draw up all the line work so that it's ready to be painted by the community. So we would set up some times where they could come maybe on a Saturday or Sunday morning, and under the supervision of an artist and one of the committee members, we would have them paint kind of like a color by numbers, except the numbers wouldn't be there. They'd get printouts of this, and they would just paint in what they're seeing again, mixing colors with the help of the artist that's on hand. We're thinking this would be for teens and above. This is not something that younger kids would be working on.
So the wall that you see in your packet is the back wall of 61 Center Street, sort of near the senior center side. So while it is not visible from the street, there is a lot of activity back there. People are parking back there for seniors events, for rec events, for softball games that happen in the field below. And it's kind of boring. And we thought it would be a nice place to add some public art that the community actually creates together.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I support this. The idea of this morphed out of an idea of was it going to be a fundraiser? But it ended up becoming a community mural project that not one artist is going to paint. I mean, yeah, one artist designed it, but it's going to be the community coming together. Almost, I don't want to say making a jigsaw puzzle, but painting their square. And when you think about that, how the individuals are coming together from town and their collaboration is making this one thing. I think that's a really cool idea. And there are a lot of, like you said, a lot of people back there, a lot of sports being played back there. I just think it would really brighten it up. I do want to go off course if I can. I was going to ask Marge, because this is her building, if she had any thoughts on this.
Do you want to sit here?
So I love the idea. Brendan and I have been talking about ways to kind of bring people into that grassy area and what we could do with that, so that would certainly add to that. I do want to add on a kind of half funny, half serious note, though, but is that everybody remember that on the other side of that wall, we had a mural at one time that got ruined, and I took a lot of heat for it, so I just want to put that out there. So nobody yell at me.
Thank you, Marge.
Yeah, inside. It got wet, it got ruined.
Oh, okay.
I'm in full support of this.
Well, this would definitely be using materials that are supposed to be outside, so they will get wet and stand up. Now, over time, could it become damaged? Of course, anything can, as George mentioned, but it's the type of thing that could also be touched up.
Yeah. We would paint with exterior latex paints. So we would have gallons of colors mixed close to the colors that you're seeing in the actual design, but you would need to kind of mix them together also to get some of the more subtle variations on those colors, which, again, the artist on hand would help with.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a handful of questions, so I apologize in advance.
No?
First off, I think that the concept is great. I love the Secret Garden-esque vibe it gives, right? Like this, like you're peering through, this flowering hedge at, a piece of Burlington. I didn't necessarily love that we were looking at Grandview, and it wasn't necessarily that, it's because I do like Grandview, something against the building. It just felt like, not out of place, but it was like, because it was on the back of the rec and senior center building, that like, should we be looking at something else? That's just my own personal take, so like, take it for what it is, grain of salt. I think the concept is great. So, nothing there. I just needed to say it out loud. Questions around the project itself. How are folks going to sign up for a square? Is it just going to be like a first come, first serve, X number of squares available?
Well, there's going to be quite a few squares, right?
Yeah, there are. I mean, we're talking about 8 squares tall by 14 and a half wide, so there's a lot there. Most of the squares, though, I did grid it off here, and most of the squares are actually pretty simple to draw. It's not a very complicated. It's very sort of a cartoony style.
Yeah.
Very simple, straight lines, some curves. So it's not hard to break down. I imagine, one person might be able to do 4 squares in a few hours. So again, we're not sure how many people show up for this. Sure. We want to promote it. Part of what my intern will be doing in the spring semester will be to do some promotional materials for it to try to get people in.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to answer your question, that's the part you really can't judge. Just like with any event that we do, we don't know how many people are going to show up. Are we going to have 100 pumpkins and 20 kids? Let's hope not, but sometimes these things happen. And if that were to happen, it would be probably fall on the artist and members of the Public Arts Committee to fill in whatever the community doesn't paint. Hopefully, we have the opposite problem, and we have lots of people that want to participate, and then everybody will only get 1 square, and it would be on a first-come, first-served basis.
Okay. All right. And then, will there be an opportunity
Bless you.
to acknowledge all the participants in some way, like a?
Oh, that's a great
'cause, like,
idea.
like sometimes everyone signs a square, but like I feel like on something this big, no one's gonna be looking, or it's gonna be up too high or whatever. But like, could we get like a small plaque or something that acknowledges it?
We could. So, Boston has a mural painting group. I think it's one of Mayor Menino. He did all these summer opportunities for high school kids for many years, and one of the ones that I think is still lasted from that program. They were cleaning up parks and doing everything else, but the one thing that lasted for many years was this high school team that would go around to different communities painting murals under the guidance of, there was some head for the whole thing, but then they also had some mass art students who were sort of the team leaders and things like that. And if you go to those murals, you'll see their names in a corner somewhere, but not a plaque. It was painted on into the mural itself in the left or the right corner. So I imagine we could do something like that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, keep a record of who's actually doing the squares and just add their name to the list.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Just a way to acknowledge everyone's participation, and coming out and having a good time.
And I definitely want to recognize the artist that designed it as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, I guess like my biggest logistical question is going to be around timing, right? So it has to be done in good weather. That building gets a ton of use in good weather, right? So I would imagine scheduling is going to be a bit of a challenge.
Yes. What we envisioned was to start in early summer and hopefully be able to complete it over 4 or 5 Saturdays, but with the understanding that if it rains, then we don't paint that day, and we'd have to push it back by a week. So that's why we want to start early in the summer, so that by the end of the summer, it can be done assuming that it won't rain every Saturday, hopefully.
Oh, yeah, like last summer, right? Yeah, I would say, I mean, work with Marge and Brendan for, scheduling, because maybe Sundays are better, right? Like, who knows?
Oh, yeah, we can check with them. We would need to cordon off part of the parking lot, so we'll have to coordinate to see when programming is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. Otherwise, I think it's a great idea, and I love that you guys are utilizing essentially blank space that already exists to, capture moments where we can put art. I think it's wonderful. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Nick. Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you both again for proposing this. I am very supportive. I love this idea. I had just a couple of sort of logistical questions. Do you know how big that wall is? Because you said it's going to be 8 feet tall and about 14 feet wide, the mural. I just don't want it to be dwarfed.
I didn't measure it, no, because I actually didn't know where we were going to do it, because we had a different location in mind before, so,
Yeah.
and I didn't measure this one. I did put, if I could come up there, I did put where I think, I estimated it based on what I think would be 8 feet, so.
I think it's 30 or 36 feet wide, I think.
That feels right, because there are 2 parking spots.
Okay, that's helpful.
Oh, Marco.
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
Sarah, parking spots are usually 14 to 15
Thank you.
feet
Okay,
wide.
there you go. That's a
So-
good measure. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, so if each of those spots is 15 to, say, 18 feet, right, then the mural's going to take up most of one side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so then that actually would be, so it would fill up more space than I'm showing in the illustration here then, it looks like, yeah.
That helps. I thought it was going to be a whole thing.
Yeah, and I thought it would be cut off by the thing in the middle. So this helps me see it a little better. And I also don't know height, so like I was having trouble. I didn't want it to be like take up only half
Yeah.
the wall and just look a little funky, like dwarfed by this big brick wall. So this is helpful. That was really my only concern. And then,
The other thing, as I'm looking at this, Jim mentioned having an interactive component to this, and it could be something that we do later on, but there are, murals of large wings that somebody could stand in front of, and this is Jim's idea, not mine, but it's a good one, so I'm going to steal it right now, but it could be something like that on the other side. So this could grow, and it could be that we even take some of the motifs and the elements from that first mural and have it sort of leak into the other side, and that's where we'll see some other interactive element for this.
Your Instagram moment.
great. And then I also had questions about the timing, but that kind of got worked out. So those are my only questions. I'm in support of this. I really, really like the design and the colors chosen. So kudos to the artist. And I look forward to maybe getting a square and participating in this. So
I think we should all have a square.
yeah,
Yes,
maybe the select board
and
square.
actually, I think we should mention the artist Afsa Khalifa. Am I saying her name correctly? Afsa Khalifa. She couldn't be here tonight, but she's a very talented young artist. She did one of the pigs as well, and it was fantastic. And we've been very impressed with her work. And Burlington creates has a great art program, and I think generates some really great young artists, and it's something that we can all be proud of.
That's great. Great to hear. And I love seeing us foster the arts with the young kids. And then maybe when they grow up and they get a job, they can come live here and show their kids. And it's a really great way to bring color to the community and also to create community and foster art within our young population. So I really appreciate you all for bringing this forward, and looking forward to seeing it.
Great.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah.
Come down and paint, too.
To echo my fellow board members, I love it. I love adding art to the community wherever we can, and they've said it all, and fully in favor. And after seeing the mock-up, which really helps, thank you. I was going to say why not do the other side, but I like your idea of maybe making something to go along with, like maybe the Nashville Wings or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love all the ideas, and I'm in support. Thank you.
Great. Great.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve the mural at 61 Center Street and leave it the discretion of which side up to the Public Arts Committee, because some areas of the brick may be worn, chipped, so I'll leave this discretion up to the Public Arts Committee to decide which side of the building, and then if that's possible.
Mr. Chairman, I think we should put the same in, let's check so we can get feedback from Frank Anderson, and so on which is best for them, and et cetera. And then as we're going to paint it, we continue to check in with both Marge and Brendan about programming, but also,
Okay.
Brian. So we're happy to coordinate that for our office, the same as the other
So I'll
one.
make that motion to approve, subject to Mr. Denisio's recommendations.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0 again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both.
Okay, now we'll move back to some budgets. First up is, we go right in order, JD, 113, town meeting.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Patrick has before we start calling up folks, he's just going to kind of go over where we were at guidelines. I shared the slide deck with you, so he'll probably buzz through it pretty fast. You've all had a chance to review it, so feel free to stop him with questions or save them to the end, whatever your pleasure is. Then after, when he's done, we'll go through department by department. Everybody should have a summary list and a copy of all the budget pages. It's in the shared drive if you don't.
Thank you. And please do interrupt me if you have questions along the way or if I'm going too fast. So tonight we'll look at the FY27 budget assumptions and targets, how we approached the budget this year, talk about where we came in for budget guidelines for both the accommodated or our fixed costs and the town and school operating budget, as well as an introduction to the FY 2027 budget. So just a little bit of a background. So we have built our budget around the framework of our long-range financial plan, which is really sort of our guiding document, and I think it's more than a document to us. It's sort of guiding principles for a number of financial planning tenets, and the focus there is a balanced budget, maintaining service levels, minimizing property tax impacts, all important elements of how we approach the municipal services in town and from a budgeting perspective. Some of the things that have remained the same, we continue to use a 1.5% levy growth for our new growth assumption, so our new construction activity is conservative at 1.5% levy growth. And we will see an excess levy capacity based on our projection right now of 13.5 million. This variable, or I guess we'll get into it in the next bullet here, that excess levy capacity obviously is a variable based on where new growth comes in. So it's a challenging element for the budget process. So if new growth exceeds our expectations, we will obviously see excess levy capacity increase. And in the future years, where we have to start to address what I'll call structural deficits in the future, we're able to do that through the excess levy capacity. So we're able to do that without Proposition 2.5 debt overrides, but we're not able to do that without property tax impacts. So while we are very unique in that when we look at the 5-year financial plan, we do not see structural deficits like almost every other municipality might see at this point because of our current excess levy capacity or the amount that we can tax that we are not taxing. But what that does not prevent against is increases to property taxes, which we think that we will hope to mitigate based on the guidelines that we put forward tonight, or that we'll talk about tonight. Other revenue elements, so property taxes are 85% of our revenue. State aid is the next biggest one. We have assumed 3% for Chapter 70 or for education funds and 2% for unrestricted general government aid. Those are modest at this point. Right now, it's actually a little bit over what the governor's budget had, so we'll be making adjustments in real time to that, but we do expect those to level up a little bit as it moves through the legislature. The last component or major component of revenue is local receipts. So there are 24 categories of local receipts, namely the motor vehicle excise tax, meals tax, the local option rooms tax, so the tax that we collect when folks stay in hotel rooms. Building permits and license fees is another major revenue area in local receipts, and investment income and some of the smaller areas where we see how we can actually project the revenue across these major accounts and use conservative posture while also making sure that that we are using predictable revenue assumptions for these categories. So, sorry, I keep forgetting to click. Thinking about the assumptions as they relate to expenses, obviously the priority for the provision of service that we have in town and school departments is maintaining those service levels and meeting the contractual obligations that we have with our bargaining groups, which, the majority, 80-90% of our costs related to the salaries of the people that are performing this work every single day. So that's a big area for our expenses. But that doesn't disallow us, I guess, to not evaluate opportunities for efficiencies, cost savings, monitor comparable market conditions. This is going to be a big deal for us in the next year or two. We saw municipal contracts probably at their highest as far as cost of living adjustments or general wage adjustments go in the last couple of years. So we're going to be continuing to monitor what wages start to look like and hope that they start to level off a bit. Moving on to the accommodated accounts or fixed costs, undistributed expenses. Some of just the things that we've highlighted here. Debt service is obviously going to be a changing area, which we'll look at later on in this presentation. Having those the two major projects, the police station and Fox Hill, start to really come on in a meaningful way as far as debt service goes. So we're going to see larger budgets for debt service than we have in the past. I think this next one is not a stranger to anybody, is the health insurance landscape that we see right now. We were before the board in October, I believe, for the increase to the employee program. And so we've seen this be an area of pretty big expense across not only the municipal market, but everywhere. When we're talking about 1,500 people that we provide health insurance for and their survivors and their families, it's an area that we have to really take handle of, and we're spending a lot of time on that right now. Unfunded liabilities are also an area that I think that everybody is pretty familiar with. The biggest area here is the Middlesex retirement system. So we will likely start to see greater increases in the assessments from a percentage increase perspective over the next several years as we get closer to the mandatory funding date of 2040. So this is, I've created sort of a watch list, which you'll see at the end, of things that we may see significant increases based on retirement system valuations. I think Middlesex retirement system has a little bit of behind where we would like to be as far as funding ratio level. So where do they make that up? That's going to be made up in assessments, and it's a regional system, so it's done a little bit differently where how those assessments are dealt with. So it's an area that you're going to hear us talking about quite a bit over the next several years, I think. Solid waste collection and disposal is also an area that has had a significant change in the last several years as far as the economics of it and the market conditions. So I believe next year or the year after, our current solid waste contract will be expiring. And so we are anticipating larger increases there in the future. Manageable increases, but we want to just be eyes wide open going into this, considering there's been a huge shift in this market. We'll hear a little bit later on tonight about our local transportation program. Hugely successful program as far as getting folks to where they need to be. But obviously, that generates a significant cost, and thinking about the future of that program is something that we're putting on our watch list, for lack of a better phrase. And then finally, thinking about the special education and transportation in the school department, which is in an accommodated account. This is really one of those areas, of these cost areas, that can have significant changes from year to year based on what we see from placements and out-of-district placements, what we see from the Operational Services Division of the state, what they are dictating sort of the increase there. And this can really change from year to year based on student need. So just another one of pretty significant variability. So where did that bring us for our guidelines? In FY26, the year that we're currently operating in, we had accommodated accounts at a 7% increase over the prior year, so 7% over FY25, and then town and school operating coming in at 4.5% for annual increases. And I think one of the challenges, like I talked about earlier, is having that balanced and sustainable long-range financial plan, and having that long-range financial plan and how we translate that into what the average single-family taxpayer pays, which I should have mentioned at the beginning. The average single-family tax bill came out for FY26 last week, and Burlington is still over $1,000 below the statewide average. So I think that there's still very good news on that front, and I think that that's an area that we always want to focus on, is what is the average single-family paying for these services, and what is going to be sort of the sustainable and predictable impact of all of the services that we're offering, and the changes that we're seeing in valuations or investments in the commercial and industrial markets. So all of those things are what we think about when we're developing our plan. So what we are focusing on for FY27 is a target of 7.5%. That was our target. I'll see in a couple of slides how that target changed a little bit based on some evolving things outside of our control. And then moving forward for 28 to 31, 8%. Some of the things that I'll talk about that were out of our control that are going to shift those numbers a little bit. However, I think that based on a 5-year average, we'll be at 8%. There's just been some changes that I'll get into in a minute. And then the town and school operating budget, sort of walking those down to 3.75% is our goal. I think that 4.5% makes it pretty challenging to balance everything we need to as far as property tax impacts, long-range financial planning, keeping excess levy capacity at a strong amount. So there are things that can change these, right? One of them happened already. Things like health insurance, we have to react in as close to real time as we can when we hear from our market trends there. Debt issue results can drive that accommodated number up or down. We expect that we'll borrow less than what we predict, but that can change pretty quickly as well. Retirement system assumptions, again, if we see different assessments coming from the Middlesex retirement system as we start to ratchet up to that funding level, and just the changing contractual obligations can have a really big impact in town and school operating budgets. Obviously, if markets are dictating one thing that is not consistent with this, there's a couple things that we can do to approach that, but I think that these things sort of deserve caveats looking out that far.
Patrick,
Yes.
just a question to maybe kick around as we walk through this. You don't have to answer it right now, but I'm curious to know if there's a way for us to walk down to 3.75 a little bit faster, and if that's a crazy ask or not. And I'm not saying answer it now. Maybe it comes out as we go through the rest of the slides, but just something to move on.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy. You'll see why it's not in the next slide, but I think that there are some years where it's going to be easier than others. It's as much as we have sort of fixed and ongoing costs and predictable costs, there are some times that, there are some things that we might have a year where there's a department initiative that we're trying to get off the ground, that we need to have some room for flexibility. So I think that it's a place that we want to get to sooner than later.
And part of the reason, sorry, Brenda, and part of the reason that makes it difficult to get there is that a huge portion of operating budgets is made up of personnel, and when your contracts are on the higher side, like Patrick talked about, I will say that there were both Mike and Nick, Mike and Jim were at the meeting when we talked about this. It didn't go over well with some folks, and seemed a bit aspirational. And it is. I mean, this was a direct result of what we heard feedback from this board, from Ways and Means, from some of Ways and Means, from some of town meeting, from some residents. The tricky part in every town is what's the right blend, because every town, city or town, has folks that say, I don't care what it costs, this is the services we want, and just pay for them. And every town also has folks that say, hey, I've been in town for 50 years, I can't afford to continue to pay this. But that's what they pay us for. So.
My question was a little different. Is it realistic to think we can get there in a couple of years to 3.75?
So if we see, what I'll say is, in my experience, and I think in John's experience as well, what we have seen in sort of the changing labor markets for municipal services as well as education, there's been significant change in that area as far as where general wage increases needed to be competitive, or really to be competitive, and to meet inflation and those types of things. We're hoping that cools off and sort of can return to a place that we're still compensating well and fairly and competitively, but where we have seen them in the industry and our comparable communities, if that were to stay the same, it would be unrealistic to get there. I think that you can still provide competitive wages, you can still provide level services, and you can also continue to find areas of innovation and efficiency that might provide more opportunities. At the same time, the community's desires may change, and so, what are those, how does that drive the change to be quicker or not as quick? I think those are factors, and I think that, one of the things that we want to spend some time doing over the next several months, even years, is talking about property tax impacts and how these work, and modeling things like if we were to see value changes look the same as they have in the last 5 years, what does that mean for the average increase? If we see value changes look more like what they've been in the last 20 years, what does that look like? We spend a lot of time talking about that and modeling that. And so it's something that it's a community conversation, but I think where we're starting is based on the feedback from, town meeting, from the people that we hear every day about finding that balance of service levels and affordability. So where we are at right now, the town operating budget is planned at this point for a 3.98% increase. So sort of, I could have given this information a few minutes ago when the question was, is it attainable? The answer is, it may be. And for some reason, when I ever project to this, that box gets bigger than what it is in reality, so my apologies. So we are, right at this point, under the budget guideline of 4.25% for the town. Marge will talk about this a little bit later on. The only FTE change in the budget is an increase of 0.42, and that's for the addition halfway through the fiscal year, for an assistant director for programs and outreach. And this supports a number of things. It supports transition in the department. It meets the Council on Aging's goal to support additional programming and outreach. And it's a department that is very lean as far as the it's a very lean department staffing-wise, and I think that this makes sense for growth in the department to meet the evolving needs of the senior population. Aging population services is rapidly changing, we think, and I think that this is an area that we feel investment really needs to be, considering the population that it serves. So we'll hear a little bit more about that later on. This may result in future adjustments to FTE composition. What I mean by that is that this could mean a decrease next year. It could mean a slight increase next year because it's not going to be half year, or it could mean other adjustments to how FTEs are composed in the department. Marge has done a lot of thoughtful work thinking about that with us, and we think the impact is actually pretty minimal for the service provision that'll be there. And what the bullet that's cut off is these are the departments that are over guideline at this point, and really just walking through quickly, HR, human resources is just there for contractual salary changes. There are small increases, expenses we'll hear about, but really that's just the changes of the track for the employees there. Council on Aging we'll hear more about. Assessing, the assessing department is looking to move to a new upgraded software for property management that is no longer supported, or the current will no longer be supported. Town clerk's office, there are 3 elections next year. So usually it's every other year, every 2 or 3 years, based on the election cycle, we'll see changes in the budget there. Planning department, again, contractual salary changes for our current employees. Library, same with some material increase as well. And then recreation is looking to have some changes in the allocations between their staffing components to increase their services there. So just slightly over guidelines. So I know I've gone on longer than I thought I would, but we'll just, the next 2 slides, this is an overview of the accommodated accounts and where we are seeing the increases there. So we're ending up at 8.32. We were initially at 7.37. However, you'll notice one of the largest increases here for the Shawshene Regional School District. Historically, we've been at a 4 or 5% increase, and you'll see the 27% increase. That is a result of the regulation change for how admissions works statewide at technical schools. So it is now a lottery based on a seat allocation per participating community. So the number of seats that Burlington will have has increased by a little bit more than 20. And this is the first year of that, so we'll see 3 more years where we could have increases in this range. And this is what we're budgeting in the out years as well, in that 25 to 30% increase. So that put us over our self-imposed guideline because we found out about this after that guideline meeting. Some of the other areas here that we have a little bit on our watch list, health insurance, like I talked about a little bit earlier, solid waste and recycling, debt service, we don't see the increases from market conditions, just that this is an area that we'll see increase in based on the projects funded within the levy. We talked about retirement. We talked about special ed tuition and transportation, which we may actually see adjustments to that account later on that hopefully will smooth things out here. And then local transportation, which we'll talk a little bit more about tonight.
And Patrick, the Shawshene line, that's assuming that all seats are filled, correct?
Yes.
Are we paying for all seats regardless, or are we only paying for seats that get filled?
So our budget next year is based on, so they set the Chapter 70 number and the minimum contribution number based on the October 1 enrollment. So this October 1 enrollment included a full freshman class of all of our allocated seats, which is 54, and graduated a class of 30-something, or the high 20s. That's going to happen 3 more times because now, as long as we have 54 applicants, which we always do, we're going to fill out all 54 seats.
I got you.
So the other effect of that is we're also going to go from our allocation of capital from the minimum of 10% to it's going to be based on a formula, and if everybody fills all of their seats, we'll be more like 18, closer to 20%, which is a much bigger number when the project hits
Right.
years from now.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And then finally, before we move on to department budgets, I think that we wanted to put together a sort of on the horizon slide here for some of the things that we're thinking about. And I should have updated this, I'm sorry. The capital improvement program was released, I think, 3 weeks ago at this point. And what we are fulfilling there is our commitment to town meeting and what was passed at the September town meeting related to presenting a 5-year capital plan, what we will call a balanced plan, so not necessarily sort of an inventory of all ideas and hopes, but a plan that's built on a target of the town and school operating budget, and then a target of percentage of free cash. So that big milestone has been met. This is a transition year for that, so I think that we still have some information and some things to collect, but we expect for May to have that balanced plan ready to present to town meeting. Something that's been talked about for a little bit now is a water and sewer enterprise fund. So what Mass General Law allows us to do, we have a sewer enterprise fund, is to capture revenue and expenses for what's called the business-like activities within an enterprise fund. And so within that, it's really, the idea behind this is an accounting mechanism, but it allows us to sort of have a separate fund for that activity or those activities. You know, you can raise debt service from these and really capture all those user-based costs. So we've been working with Ways and Means on this, and we plan to seek approval at the May 2026 town meeting to establish a water sewer enterprise fund. This is not going to change the appropriation process. Budgets will still need to be appropriated. Rate plans will be based on sort of an annual basis. I think that 5 to 10-year rate plans can be developed, but really need to be monitored on an annual basis because weather has such a big impact in this area. And then phased implementation as early as July 1. So we do expect a 5 to 6 year runway of moving from general fund to full enterprise fund. Obviously, there's a lot of work going on at the Burlington High School right now related to their statement of interest in the MSBA process, so we'll be keeping an eye on that as that has an impact on, that's an exempt debt measure, but it obviously has an impact on overall finances and property tax impacts. And most exciting, the outreach, education, and engagement that we're hoping to continue to do. We have an Economic Development Forum Summit planned for March 18th, where we're going to be hearing from a whole host of folks related to the commercial area. I think it's going to be the first in many events of this type. And then we've talked a lot about going to boards, going to public places to talk about this type of stuff. I know that it is not the most interesting or the sexiest topic to talk about, but we could talk about it forever. So if you give us a room and strangers, we'll talk about some of this stuff. So we'll be planning a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Patrick.
I don't know if you want to talk questions on that or absorb that and start the department budgets, and then we can always answer questions on this after those two. One thing I did want to point out, we talked a little bit about debt and what that, a question that we got a lot last year was what's included in that, police station, Fox Hill, et cetera. And next year, the way our budget is programmed now, that does include the full freight of the police station. And the reason that we're trying to make that happen is based on the market rates right now and the fact that we're going to be able to borrow $10 million less for that project than we, or at least $10 million less for that project than we originally anticipated, given that we used $5 million in free cash And then we have at least $5 million of cost avoidance based on the bids and contracts that we have in place now. So that's something where we would, the plan right now for us to do is to ban the Fox Hill project and permanently borrow the police station. So next year, we would have the full freight of that hitting. And now that the effect of that is going to be decreased a little, it helps soften the burden of that, and then the whole burden will be less, considerably less than we originally had hoped, because we have similar news from Fox Hill that we did for the police station, which is great. But now, maybe we can accelerate how quickly we're going to borrow those and save some interest on the bans we were going to do over years. So just one point I wanted to point out when we were talking about debt, but I didn't get to it.
Did anyone have any questions?
Just quick comment.
Jim?
Mike and I attended that, as you stated, the budget summit, and all my questions were answered that day, but what I'm really impressed with is how far out did we look. Not 2 years, 3 years, it's 5, 6, 7, 8 years out. And I think going out that far is what makes it so much easier in the current year to just tweak things. The projections aren't out, like 2 or 3 years. It's out, in some cases, 10 years on projections. And I think that's a great idea, and I think we should keep doing that, because now we're looking at rolling back the cap from 4.5 to 4 to 4.25 to 4 to 3.75. And I think going that far out in the projections allows us the ability to start scaling back the annual increases. And like you said, not everybody was happy with it, but you know what? Well, we got to deal with it. So, it's just a comment.
Is there any questions or comments?
No.
Nick?
I'm good right now, thank you.
I had a question. I don't know if this is answerable, but I think we've seen, I think I first heard about it here, the increase in the health insurance and what it costs for premiums and stuff. When a big increase like that hits, do we get warning that it's coming? And in like the trash, too, we had a similar situation of increase in tax rates. Like, how long do we usually have to react as a town or financial planners to something like that? Because I never really paid attention to it until this year when I saw the differences in my health care at work and co-pays and stuff. Do we get a lot of warning when stuff like that happens? And how do you kind of react when we're trying to be proactive and plan out so far ahead, but then something like this pops up? Just kind of something that, just curious.
So I'll start, you can correct me. Two different things with trash. We have, we bid that, we're not required to, but we do a longer term contract for 5 years. We get permission from town meeting to do a 5-year contract, and that gives us some stability. And then as we work through that contract, we're looking at what the renewal rates have been. And so you may remember just a couple of years ago, we said we're coming off a very favorable contract into a tough market. And, we took a big hit that first year, but we knew a while ahead of time. And the same, we're envisioning the same thing. We're in a contract now. That market had a tough year last year, especially locally with some labor shortages and strikes and things like that. So the renewals haven't been great. So we're factoring that into our long-range planning. The health insurance is a little different animal for us because we're self-insured. So we've made the decision over a few years. So if you were to take our 5-year increase, we're well below what the regular market has. And that was planned. It was, okay, we're going to put some of our trust balance at risk here and keep the increases artificially low, knowing, and every year making that decision, knowing at some point you have to catch up and have regular increases because the costs still increase. And the reason we were able to do that is mostly because of COVID. You didn't know what the right size was anymore. We didn't know what the increases were going to be because claims in 2020 were subsidized by the federal government. You had people that weren't going to the doctor for quite a bit of time. 21 started to normalize a little bit, and then even some seniors still weren't going back to the doctor. So it took a couple of years to come out of that, and we had really low increases during that. But then now over the last couple of years, we've had to catch up for it. But it planned, and we did know and expect. I'm not saying that we could predict what the health insurance market's going to do. If we could, we'd all be rich. But if you were to compare us to where I get my insurance from another town, their increases are between 13 and 20% every year.
Yeah, and I think that JD captured it exactly. When these things come up, we sort of become, students of solid waste and recycling, and we, that's what we become experts in for that, 3-6 months that we're going through that process. And there's a group that spends a whole lot of time, all of our partners from across the state, that we have every single RFP and every single contract that's been issued, we have access to. So we spend a lot of time looking at that type of stuff when we're in a renewal. But yeah, and the self-insured plan allows us that flexibility to mitigate rate increases, but not mitigate, that mitigation can't go on forever. And so I think one of the things we're doing now is saying, this market has been so volatile, we need to rely less on the trust balance and more on sort of right sizing. And I think that that's the sort of season that we're in with health insurance right now, is right sizing. And I think this is where the partnership comes in between the employees and the town, and it's a huge partnership there, and the taxpayers. But we're on calls every other week with our health insurance consultant, hearing about, what are the changes in the market, what are big claims that we have. So that's all I really have to add, but JD summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, if you want to talk about tips and tonnage, give Rachel a call one day, and she'll explain it all to you. So maybe, Mr. Chairman, we could start with the department?
Sure.
budgets?
Go for it.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Starting with town meeting and reports, a small increase in this account of $560 or 1.87%. This really relates to the cost of running town meeting and the cost of producing all of the backup and the materials and the printed materials that goes to all of the town meeting members, as well as what I'll call the production of town meeting. It is a pretty big effort as far as the staff that goes into it related to the audiovisual support. And so this is just a small increase for the printed materials and for increasing our professional staff on those nights to be there on hand to ensure that everybody can hear, everybody can give their opinion, and the production can go on.
Mr. Chairman, just to add that, the same note as last year, that this is basically what it costs us now. This doesn't include any changes that may come from the automatic voting system or any changes to a full hybrid to offering hybrid or more remote options or anything like that. That does not include any of those changes.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. Are we going to do these one at a time, or can we just wait to hear from Patrick on all of them, and if we want to hold one like we've done in the past?
Yeah, whatever the will of the committee is.
So-
If there's no one to hold it, we can.
Hold, if you want to hold one of the budgets. If not, just let Patrick go through it, and we could take one vote at the end with the exception of any held budgets.
Can I just ask a question about town meeting? I know in the past there has been the option for folks to not receive a hard copy packet because, some people like to go digital on their iPad or whatever personal device they have. And I know there's only like a handful of people that do
Yeah.
that. Has there been any sort of effort to encourage that?
There was significant effort before May of last year. There will be again before May of this year. It's the biggest backup. It's, you've seen them, you get them. They're huge, and they cost a ton of money, not only to produce, but to mail. So we will continue to make that effort. I think we have about 10 to 12% of folks that take the electronic version and don't opt out of the print.
Okay. I know some people like to have that tactile booklet in their hand, I understand. But I think from a conservation mindset and from a fiscal mindset, it might be good to try to encourage those who have a device that would be suitable for town meeting to transfer over to digital. That's just a thought that I had, but other than that, I'm fine with this.
I had a question about the clicker system, not about the fact that it wasn't included because we don't know if we're doing it, but do we know the possible ramifications of impact to staff and timing and setup and other ancillary equipment that we might need to pull this off beyond the actual system itself?
No, the feedback, basically, the decision was made to, let's see if we're going to do it, and then dig in, and it'll have to be a separate warrant article anyway.
Okay.
To get the funding for it. And once we know if we're going to do it, we can get, IT staff, clerk staff all together and see what else are we going to need in order to do this.
Okay, so we can anticipate working at least the first year of that, all that cost into the warrant article?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And we would work it right into that operating budget from that warrant article, and then it will be in the base going forward.
Okay.
Okay, the next is Town Administrator. So no change in the head count here, 3.06% over the FY26 budget. This is just the contractual step increases in salaries. This also includes the Economic Development Office. So the Economic Development Office is obviously continuing to research and try to find grants to support the sort of broader mission of the office. This will be the second budget with the communications officer in the town administrator's office. And so I think Laura has exceeded all of our expectations as far as the content that she's been able to put out externally and internally. So we're keeping an eye on what we might need in the future there, but I think that we're comfortable where we are right now. But this sort of has a number of elements of management of town functions that we're very happy with having Laura on board.
So I think over a few years with the economic development budget, we sort of ramped that up, phased it in, and to try to figure out what the right size was. We think right now we're about at the right size. With continues only so much work you can do. And with any needs Laura's going to have, we'll take them out of the budget that we have for both this year and next year as we figure out what it is that we need to add or possibly get rid of that we wouldn't need any longer.
Question on this. Remind me, MELT is for like educational stuff, right?
Yeah, trainings.
Right, trainings, all that. Are they required trainings? And is there an opportunity for each department to trim that going forward for the sake of bringing things down by 0.5%?
I mean, it might be one of the levers we pull. I can say that what the reason we were able to not only meet the guideline but exceed it this year was because of retirements. We continue to tell people you can't increase your expense budget.
Yeah.
You got to just figure it out. You can maybe keep all your staff if you make a good pitch for it, but we're trying to control the budget growth here,
Yeah.
and the only way to do that, if we didn't have significant retirement savings, we would have been higher than that. And we obviously have a bunch of requests that came from department heads that we just said, well, this isn't the year for that. So if it did come to, there was a directive to say, how much more can we get? And that might be a lever we pull. I think we would get a lot of pushback from department heads that will say, well, these are, the conferences that I need to keep my certification and to keep current with all this stuff.
Right.
And that my staff needs. But I'm sure if directed, we would be able to.
Yeah, and I think another perspective to that is when we're looking to establish efficiency and drive innovation, that would be an area that we want to maintain. I think oftentimes professional development becomes the first thing that is reduced when there are tight budgets. And I think that there's a perspective there that should say it's the last that should be reduced if we're asking people to do more with less, or if we're asking people to think outside the box and approach things creatively. They need the support to figure out how to do that in some cases. So, there's ways that we're thinking about that differently as far as the delivery of that stuff goes, but I think that that's not an area that is, we're going to a conference and we're taking a couple classes. It's an area of how are we meeting the evolving needs of what we do and how are we changing them and how are we establishing efficiencies. So I think that that's sort of my pitch for maintaining those in most cases.
Yeah, and listen, Patrick, I agree with you 110%, right? I just want to make sure that, like, if it went from 14 and 24 to 17 and 26, right, would there be an opportunity for us to go, well, a handful of these aren't required, necessary, we can maybe do online training instead of sending people, whatever it is, right? And all of a sudden, we've got 5K back that we can put somewhere
sure.
else. Or, right, I mean, it's the little things, that could add to a lot. Because again, we know 86% of the budget, more or less, is staff, right? We want to maintain services, we need staff to run those services. So it's all the annoying little things that I might ask the stupid questions about.
Not stupid.
Well, call it what you want. But I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Yeah, and one of the nuances to this is the expenses are approved together so they can, that total budget could be, as long as you don't go over the total budget, you could go over in one line and under in another. And that's a lot of times what you see is, oh, you only spent 8,000 last year, but then you got to look at the other ones and see, that was because you only had 8,000 left. You had to do,
Right.
because you went over in some other area, you had to go without in that area.
Yeah, okay.
And then next,
Sorry, can I just make one comment? And this isn't about the budget, but about the notes page. It says for town administrator, FTE, no change, head count of 7. I think the head count is 8 at this point.
Yeah, it's probably 8. It was probably just a rollover. Those notes were just for you.
Well, if you are copying and pasting this for town meeting, just make that
we
change.
don't.
That's all, thanks.
Thanks, Sarah.
so I know we have staff here, that I'll kick it off, but if you have questions, you can always turn to them. We have Julie, our town accountant here, so increase here of 3.57%. This is really just contractual changes related to the employees in that group. No changes to expenses here. Any questions? Good? That was easy, Julie. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie.
Waited all night for that, huh?
Good work.
It's good to see you, though.
Legal, no changes here. This is our area for town council, so general town council and also special council or labor council as well, but no increase in the legal budget. Next is human resources. I welcome up Reggie Nichols. This is, Reggie, we're both at a first time for this tonight, so the increase here, as I mentioned, is slightly over guidelines based on solely just the contractual obligations there, and the step increase there. Again, this will be the second budget, but the sort of full first budget of having a dedicated town HR director. And then the only increase that we're seeing on the expense side is just over $1,100. This is in our recruitment and retention area. So one of the things that we're working on right now is our applicant tracking system, so how people apply for jobs here, how they're onboarded, and how their sort of life cycle of being an applicant to an employee. We've been using the same system for 17 years.
About 17 years.
My number is just in my head for some reason.
Yeah.
I think we can do a lot better with just a little bit more investment in that. Reggie's been doing a ton of work on the research there, so that it can be a more interactive process, not only for employees, but for hiring managers and for tracking. So we've really outgrown the current system, and based on sort of adjustments that we've been able to make in the accounts there, we predict just an increase of $1,100 for expenses.
I just have a question about that. What system are we using for tracking applicants?
We're using a system called Capstone.
Okay.
and we're really looking at a system that's more current to our needs. So we looked at 3, and we're we whittled down to one that is going to be a lot more, my words, a plug and play. Capstone, it functioned for us the last 17 years. It hasn't kept up pace with what some of the products out there now. So.
Okay, and Munis does not have that capability?
So there are some recruitment elements in Munis right now. We don't own the module for applicant tracking, and there is good integration there. I have not really seen it work as well as we'd hope, in research that I've done for sort of the applicant tracking element. It's a little clunky in the back end. I think that we will get to a point where we're doing more in the employee self-service modules of Munis, which are like sort of the next generation of Munis from the enterprise resource management function. At that point, it might be a good time for us to look at it when we fully implement employee self-service, where it has a totally different look. You're in Munis every day, so you understand the sort of the limits that the accounting side has, but the employee self-service side of it is really much more dynamic. So when we are at a point where we can launch that, it's something that we'll probably look at that point.
Okay. And then I had one more question, and I lost my page. It's just going on memory. I saw something in the notes at some point about a possible summer intern.
Yeah, that was something we had hoped, but budget-wise, we realized that that wouldn't be something that we could do this fiscal year. We can have some discussions, maybe partnering with some of the local colleges and universities, and maybe having a ongoing, like a more of an academic partnership in which a non-paid internship may be possible. Just based on my background connections, I was hoping to talk with Patrick and John about maybe doing some further research, because I think for us, as we start to build, as we continue to build community and also looking at longevity, may be a great for some of our future employees if we start have relationships with some of the local colleges and universities. So, and I know folks are always looking for the trade-off, maybe not financially, but trade-off, that real work experience, and that's something we can do on maybe having a partner on the academic side.
Okay.
I think the idea is when you do something like that, they've got some skin in the game too, and it's someone that it either aligns with their academic program or what their career aspirations are, and you may get someone that is more invested.
Any questions?
Just a comment.
Jimmy?
I know we said keep expenses level, but I think spending $1,100 to replace 17-year-old software is okay in my books to exceed the expenses, so.
Nick, anything for?
No, thank you.
I have a question, general question. Reggie, the first one with us. How have things been going for you?
It's been going great. I guess for me, coming from the higher education space into the municipal space has been a learning curve for me. But working closely with Sherilyn, who's our HR coordinator, has been like I say, it's a two-way. She's been mentoring me. I've been mentoring her. And she's really just getting me up to speed, and just working with everyone here. I mean, I think I might have mentioned this to John and Patrick, but usually I'm more of a formal guy, and it's Reginald. Call me Reginald, because the moms had told me that. But since being here, I just went into straight Reggie mode. I was like, call me Reggie. So, but just to answer your question directly, it's been a good journey, and I'm only 2 towns over, so I can't beat it.
Good. We're glad to have you. Thank you, Reggie.
Thank you. Any more questions? Okay.
Nope.
Good. All right, I'm off that.
Thank you.
All right, y'all have a good night.
You too. Thank you.
And then next is conservation, and we have Eileen here. So the increase here, total increase over the FY26 budget is 4.09%. And this is just contractual obligations related to staff and the salary metrics there. But expenses are level funded, and Eileen's here to answer any other questions you might have if you have them.
Anyone have any questions for Eileen?
I think so, no.
Just one, are we still using John as a consultant?
We're using him just a few hours a month for about another 2-3 months, and that's it.
Okay, I was just curious how that was going, or if he was like overloaded at first and now we're kind of phasing it out. It sounds like
That's kind of what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
He had more hours the first year, and he did a little bit more field work for us, and then this past several months, it's mostly been just answering questions from me.
That's all. Thanks.
Just a curiosity question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I probably asked this last year. Eileen, what does land management mean? Like, what are we doing with that line item?
Is this for the expenses, or is this for, because we have a land management assistant?
Under special accounts, it's land management and stream cleaning.
Well, that's basically any supplies that we need in order to do our land management. So we manage about 250, 280 acres of conservation areas. So at the moment, we do have a part-time land management assistant who, when we're not under 18 inches of snow, patrols our areas and checks to see if our conservation restrictions are all, in good order, and that we don't have any encroachments, and make sure our trails are in good condition. So it would be a budget for any materials that they need for that, maintaining trails, saws, axes, fence parts, things like that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen.
You're welcome.
The next is our sealer of weights and measures there, so just an increase of about $500. This is related to some part-time activities that we share with another community, and this is sort of our statutory responsibility to ensure that things like gas station pumps or weights at grocery stores are calibrated and they're certified by our sealer of weights and measures. So a pretty efficient delivery of government services here for something that impacts everybody.
There's a good example of a minor regionalization, but a good one for us. It was sort of our first dip in the toe into that. And you may remember when the state basically walked away from doing this for certain cities and towns, both us and Lexington were in the same boat. And I will say we have an excellent sealer who used to work for the state, and then several other towns. Mo is a great guy, and he's doing a great job. And the only increase in here is to keep the pay competitive, so he won't decide to do something else.
Question.
James?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. John and Pat, are there any other positions in town where this might be something we could do? Combine, pool resources with another town? I mean, I'm not expecting to answer that right now, but at some point, look at other duties around town that we have an employee or don't have an employee for, that we could do some job sharing with.
There's a lot of them that, other places do exactly that. The problem is you want to be like we are in this case with the sealer. You want to be the one driving the bus. You want the person to work for you when you need them to work for you, and that doesn't always work for everybody. But there are positions, I won't say them now and get anybody worried about their job going away, but there are regular ones we do talk about that the type of work lends itself perfectly to be more regionalized.
Okay, I think
Which in lots of parts of the country, those services are regionalized.
it's just something to look at in the future.
And just, Mr. Chairman, if I may, my question was, of the increase, is it us shouldering that? Are we splitting it with Lexington? How's that work?
The hourly rate will be for all hours. So, it'll be, his hourly rate will go up by $1, so the hours he works for us will cover that. The hours he works for
Oh,
Lexington.
I got you. Okay, very good.
And one question, can you just remind me what percentage
60/40.
60/40? Okay.
Yeah. Don't tell Lexington, but we probably have more than 60.
I was going to say. I wasn't going to say that.
No, I really think it's a great deal for both.
All right, next we have Council on Aging. We can invite Marge up. So I talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the meeting when we looked at where the town was coming in from guidelines and where we like to highlight any changes in FTEs. And so, Marge has been working really closely with us over, thinking about the transition as the department, as Marge sets on a transition herself, which Marge, maybe you could give them the news of that.
Good job, Patrick.
Just take it. So after 25 years, I've decided it's time to start thinking about my next chapter, which I'm always talking about. So I have put in to retire on August 31st, but not until 2027. So we have 18 months and a few days.
No. Can we, is it no? Can
We already did. Second.
Is the next chapter, Marge, Golf Pro? Is that what we're going for?
It's golf, it's travel, spending time with my husband, who has been retired for 7 years now. So, yeah.
So, Marge will weigh in as well, but I think that one of the things that we have been talking about is developing, I think succession planning is a big deal when we have the opportunity to have succession planning, because we don't always have that opportunity. And, sort of Marge's partnership here and Marge's idea of being able to sort of lean on, someone who could be an assistant director and get perspective on their shared leadership on moving the department forward. And I think that, we talked a lot about where do we focus this, and where do we focus this on the programs and the activities that are bringing people to the center? Do we focus this on the social work and the outreach that is such a huge component of aging services? So we decided on both, and I think that it's a challenge and it's an opportunity for Marge to really build the sort of leadership infrastructure there, and also for us to expand on programming for two critical areas for town seniors. And I think that the way that Marge brought this to us, I think, makes a lot of sense, and I think that starting it halfway through the next fiscal year provides a great runway for succession planning, and I think it provides us a lot of opportunity to evaluate, okay, maybe we think about having an assistant director moving forward, or maybe we think about if this person is the right fit, approaching succession planning, or maybe they have different ideas about what leadership look like. It gives us a blank canvas for leadership and an opportunity to make some changes while also growing sort of the programs and the outreach there. So, Marge, I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit more, or if you want to talk about some of the things that you have in mind for this position.
So I think, one of the reasons besides the succession planning, I think it's important to have an assistant director, is because the director's not always there, right? And it's not based on somebody being out for, weeks or months at a time, but, in a department that can get very chaotic and can be very fast-moving, to not have your person and, kind of overseeing everything not there, it can get a little, make it crazier. So I think it's important to have kind of like your number one and your number two, so that there's always somebody, or usually somebody there, or somebody available to, sort through problems as they occur. I think it's also helps to have somebody who's overseeing, a little more specifically programming and outreach. They're incredibly important for the seniors. I think that when you've got good programming, you hopefully need less outreach, but you certainly need the outreach. The older population of Burlington is still very much kind of a non-white collar, more working class group of folks, and they need more help. We also have a lot more mental health issues. And Jim, you can attest to this, coming out of COVID, I don't see that going away. People are just more stressed than they've ever been before, and we certainly see it. So one thing you don't ever want to get rid of, or at this point, is the amount of outreach you're doing. I mean, at some point in the future, there will be fewer seniors, But for now, it's growing population for at least the next 20 to 25, even 30 years. So I want to make sure that the department is set up for its best success in that, and that we have a COA that people, really look towards and say, that's what we want to be.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I may, the profile or skill set of the director, there isn't just one type. Your skill set could be in a different area, and that's why this is sort of unique that, Marge and the group she has, you need all these skills, and then you divvy it up by who has what, as far as programs, as far as outreach, as far as running the show. And, this gives us the opportunity that halfway through next year, hiring somebody that's the assistant director, if you will, get a little bit of a tryout, and then if that person becomes the director and their skill set is different than Marge, how the rest of that FTE complement is made up that, okay, that person became the director, now we're going to take some of the duties that were held by some part-time hours, make that, instead of a half-time assistant director, a full-time position, and as long as you're covering all the services, you can have an actual, as long as the outreach is being done and the program is being done, you can have service improvements or program improvements, and that's really the opportunity we have here. If the person was the assistant director and was going to say the assistant director, and we hired a new director, then we would have to either decide how does the part-time hours that are both for outreach and programs, based on that person's skill set, which one of those would be coupled with this FTE. So that might have made it even more confusing, but in my head, it explained it perfectly. Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First off, Marge, so happy for you.
Thank you.
Right? I'm going to miss the hell out of you because a year and change is going to blow by real fast. But I really appreciate you, along with Patrick and JD, thinking through what needs to come next. We've been saying it now for years, right? I think one of the problems that we struggle with is department verticality, if you will, right? And, it shouldn't just be staff and a director, right? That there should be opportunity and range of position, diversity of thought, and I think that this is a great opportunity to do that. I think that, and we've been talking about it now for at least the 7 years that I've been here, right? That the way Council on Aging functions is changing as fast as the population is growing and changing, right? And you're right, this boomer bubble is not a 5-year blip, it's a 30-year blip, right? People are retiring, 60, 65, and they're living till 80, 85, right? And that's not happening in one bell curve motion, right? It's happening in a wider span. So to position the COA for that growth and that shift in programming, I think, 110%. I will say too, this is going to sound weird. I'm glad that we're talking more about mental health. I'm glad that we're seeing it more. I'm glad that people are pushing the stigma away and being more open and seeking help, right? Seeking support. We spent decades stigmatizing and hiding in our homes and, pushing our feelings down with all kinds of, different, things. And there's nothing wrong with talking about it, and find those supports. And I think that, as somebody who supports what Youth and Family Services does, and the way the schools support our families, and the way that you're supporting, we have to, right? We have to at every stage of life, right? Be there for the community, and do it in a way that is appropriate and supportive and not judgmental, right? It's critical. And JD, you didn't make that any more complicated. I think that explained it perfectly. The COA is such an important piece of the community, that we have to give it as much attention as we do to any other department, if not more.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman, actually, I just came up with an idea of the other side of the building for the mural. We'll put Marge Jetman on the mural of Marge Jetman up there. But to Nick's point, the population's growing, and we've had a lot of good luck with succession plans, both police, fire, and even in this town hall. At one point during COVID, Mr. Denizio, who was the assistant, had to take the reins of the town and filled it in when needed. And that was an example of how our succession plan was a success. So I definitely believe in the succession plan. Marge, you guys, girls do great, I say guys, but your staff does great work out there. And
I agree.
and there's so much going on. Now with Laurie here, hopefully you get more word out to the seniors about what's available to them, you know? And I hear people, like I'll run into people who go, oh, I didn't know we had that. I didn't know we did that. So just kudos to you, your staff, for everything, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. My staff makes me look great.
Sarah?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Marge, for coming in. I know this has been a discussion for a long time, both your succession planning and planning for this department and how to handle it. And I know you've put a lot of thought into it, and I think this absolutely makes sense. I fully support the addition of an assistant director. It's actually kind of shocking that it's not there now with the amount of services that Council on Aging provides to the community. I don't even know if people realize, just the traffic in and out of that building every day, every single day, from open to close and everything that happens in between. It is quite a lot of work for one department and just a few people to handle. So kudos to you and your team for handling it and for providing the services that you do for the community. I fully support the addition of this eventual fully one FTE. Now it's kind of a 0.45 or something, but, and just so I'm reading it correctly, because I don't always read these right, the salary for this, the total on the spreadsheet is for half a year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. That's all.
Just like all night, the board's kind of taken away my thunder and said everything that I wanted to say. But yeah, I'm happy for you, Marge, and congratulations. We'll have a lot of time to talk to you before then. Yeah, I love the idea of the succession planning, and it's been working for us as a town. And thank you for forward thinking and making sure that, when you leave us, we'll be left in good hands. And the COA is just another one of those things that makes Burlington amazing. All of our town departments, COA and Parks and Rec and Youth and Family Services. There are a lot of things, like Nick said, people don't even know that are available to them. And keeping that continuity when you leave with the assistant director is very important, that we can continue to do such great work. And I'm glad to see that you want to make sure that we'll continue to move on after you're out on the golf course or wherever you leave us. So thank you, Marge, and we'll be sure talking to you. And thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
And to the staff also.
So absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
So the next one doesn't really require.
I'm not going anywhere yet.
Marge is here, so we can do this one now. So I think I put in the email that we're not going to ask for a vote on this tonight because we want some feedback from the board. And this is with the local transportation program. This is our LIFT program, where those that qualify for the program, and the qualifications are you have to be of a certain age, you have to be the 60 plus, disabled, and within
Or
The go-go granny.
or 300% of the federal poverty line. So the genesis of this program, way back, it started right when COVID got here, same as Melissa, so I blame them both for COVID. This started as an option because the B line was going away. The B line was very inefficient, it was very expensive. When we first started, we thought it was a great opportunity. This is door-to-door concierge service for these people. There's no set times. They don't have to go get picked up at a bus stop. They don't have to rely on being there by the time the bus goes by or picks them up at their house, et cetera. And over the last few years, coming out of COVID, we just weren't sure what the right size of the program was, or how much it was going to grow. And just to put some numbers on it, the last in In calendar '25, we averaged about 1,700 rides a month. For the first 6 months, we averaged about 1,520. For the last 6 months of calendar 2025, we averaged about 1,880 and never went over 2,000 rides in a month. The program has continued to grow to now in calendar '25, we average almost 2,900 rides a month. And in the first 6 months, it was about 2,450. And then in the last 6 months, it was 3,330. So the program has probably got to so what the administration is looking for is some feedback from not just this body, but Ways and Means and a group of the folks that are the ones that put people into the program. The program was predominantly seniors when it first started. There are different qualifications, but it was predominantly seniors and maybe a small amount that qualified for another reason. The makeup of the program now is still a lot of seniors that are approved for the program, but the heaviest user is more of the economically disadvantaged, those that qualify because of being 300% of the federal poverty limit. So that was part of why the program was created, but now it's at the point now where we're going to have to budget. We're averaging around 30. We look like we may be 3,600 rides a month. The rides tend to cost around $9.25. The way the program, I know all you know, but for those listening, the way the program works is the rider pays the first $1, we pay the next 10, and then they pay anything after that. So the average of a ride, the most a ride can be is $10. They're not all $10, so the average tends to be a little bit lower than that. It's about $9.25 is about what we've averaged. So 3,600 rides, $9.25 is about $400,000 annually. Over the last few years, we have been spending down a revolving account that existed. We've been using the ride share money that we get from the state, the 10 cents on every ride that originates in Burlington that we get, and that has also offset this budget. But the budget also hasn't been $400,000 before. So if the feedback is, yeah, that's about the right size of the program, and tell us what leverage you'd like to pull to remain in that, you may hear things like, we don't subsidize the full $10. That scales down a little bit. You instead of a maximum amount of rides, which right now the levels are 50 and 35 rides a month, it basically has to do, do you take it every day to work, or do you just take it to doctor's appointments and things like that? That 50 may become a lower number, and 35 may become a lower number. So there are levers we can pull. We wouldn't, unless told, change the requirements to qualify for the program. But again, that could be a lever that is also pulled. So again, that's sort of a lot of information. The program is very popular. It has basically doubled in size between calendar year 25 and calendar year 24 to 25. And we can't afford to do that again, or else the program is now going to be approaching $1 million. I don't think that would happen in 1 year, but I don't know. I didn't think it would double in size in the last year. So a long way of me saying that you don't have to answer me now, but give that some thoughts, because we are looking for, I mean, we're going to have the same conversation with Ways and Means. We're going to have the same conversation with the group of folks that are the ones that refer people to March to be in the program, and maybe get some feedback on what are the levers that we should be thinking about here. What we'll ultimately ask is to approve the budget that was requested, which is about $350,000, just less than $350,000. We anticipate we'll get another $50,000 of the ride share money for next year. So that would be about $400,000. Our plan is to ask for that, start the year, see what, or finish this year, see where the ridership comes in. Does it continue to grow? Does it top off? And then if it continues to grow, to then make those recommended changes before July 1 to be able to fit within the budget for next year. Another thing to complicate this, which we just found out today, I didn't know this before today, the rideshare fee, that 20-cent fee, had a sunset provision in the regulation and is going away on January 1, 2027. So we'll get the money for 2 more times because it's for the previous calendar year. We'll get money in FY '27 for calendar year '25, and then we'll get money in FY '28 for calendar year '26. But then that revenue source is going to go away. I don't know if anybody had any initial knee-jerk reactions to there's, definitely you shouldn't be pulling this lever or that lever, or, you're crazy, this program should grow as big as it can. Then certainly love to hear that feedback.
Yeah. A couple, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple quick questions. One, do each of these rides count towards that 20-cent?
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as they originate in Burlington.
Right.
So like, say someone took this to a doctor's at Winchester Hospital, they would get 10 on the one that went and not on the one that came back.
Right, okay. And then, do we think that the state is gonna change the provision to make it last longer? Do we, is there anything on the table right now, or it's just slated to expire in 2 years?
Today was the first day I heard that it was going to be going away, so I'm sure there'll be a lot of pushback. I mean, you can imagine there's some bigger towns that get a lot more than we do. I mean, we get a lot, and we're right up there. But, you think about Cambridge, now you're talking real.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts and questions, and we can talk about it later. I would love for us to find a more sustainable system.
Yeah, so I think, as I said, I think what our plan will be is to submit the budget as is, have it approved with that plan in place,
Yeah.
and then continue working with some sort of advisory group to, okay, here's what the ridership info has been. We need to pull some levers. What should they be? Or, we need, at the same time, thinking, is this even the right program?
Right.
Thank you, Nick.
I have a lot of questions. I always like to look to other communities. Like, are there other ideas from other communities for programs that we can explore or potentially implement? That
Oh, sure. I mean, there's lots of structure out there of even right around us, like Lexington is the Lexpress. They have an actual bus service that goes around town all the time.
which would be similar to the Beeline, wouldn't it? Which didn't.
Yeah,
work
it's way
here.
more robust, though. It makes more stops, it runs more regularly, there's more of them. There's a lot of people that use it.
You know how that budget compares to this?
Yeah, it dwarfs this one. I think when this program went into place, I think it was very innovative. I don't think anybody was, at least no one around here was doing a similar program. I don't know if there are now, but there are lots of different ways to skin that cat, as they say. I just don't know. They're not going to be the type of concierge anytime service we have now. And that also may be one of the levers that we pull, that you can only take it from 8 in the morning till 6 at night, Monday to Friday. We have about, I think right now, for a year, that the days of the week where we have rides are pretty consistent for which day and how many rides we have. I just want to see if I have it right here real quick. No, I don't have it right here. So, Saturday has as many rides as Monday through Friday. Sunday has the least, but it's still a lot. It's a big percentage of the same as the rest of the weeks. And that's from predominantly folks that use it for work. People that, and we, and every time, we have people in all time slots too, because folks that use it for work that may work in hospitality or a restaurant, or even the hospitals, are taking it to work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon and taking it home at midnight. So all of those, any levers we pull are going to affect a certain group.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand, but I have a lot of concerns about the level of growth that we have seen with this particular line item in the budget at, what is it, 120% that it went up this
Yeah.
past year? That's insane to me. And I understand that this is a service that is needed and wanted. But yes, like, are there levers that we can pull back a little bit? Because this seems like it's just ballooning out of control. And in terms of, you mentioned sort of an advisory group to look into, are there also grant opportunities at the state that can help with that kind of work of exploring the different programs for transportation? That's something else that maybe we should look into. And then we talked about regionalizing earlier in this meeting. Are there any opportunities to regionalize this program? I was looking into other, there are programs out in the Berkshires where I know there's a smaller town, so they kind of need to regionalize certain things, but there are places that have sort of connections within communities, and they work together to help fund that. There's also communities up north that have volunteer opportunities for people who they have there's a whole nonprofit, and I don't think it's sponsored by the town, it's an actual organization that people can volunteer to bring people to doctor's appointments, and then they're reimbursed for mileage. And, these are the different kinds of creative opportunities and programs and ideas that we should be looking into, because I don't think that this model is sustainable as is. It's just not.
Yeah, and I think you don't have to look very far to see regionalization. Lowell has a bus, they're not just the MBTA bus, but service that comes to Burlington because of hospitality, because of restaurants, and the hospital. And M3 has shuttle service right now that we're a part of that goes to spots in Burlington, also to Alewife, into the college. More recently, we were part of a regional grant with Wakefield, Reading, and Woburn. I think in the end, Wakefield wasn't part of it, but us, Reading, and Woburn for some similar service that was going to be door on demand during a certain time to certain places, to places like Leahy, to the mall, to places in Reading. So that stuff does exist. That could be part of the solution. Mimicking some of those other programs could be part of the solution. We wouldn't sponsor a buddy system like that just because of the liability.
Yep.
But that's certainly, if it existed, would be another way. And obviously, I agree that we can't. So this program did cost, a couple of years ago, the program cost about $200,000. We were spending down a revolving account. The growth was minimal to non-existent for a couple of years. And then just over the last couple of years, the usage.
Yeah.
But I agree, it's not sustainable. I think, in our opinion, the program has reached its maximum. And if it's going to be any bigger, unless people tell us otherwise, we're going to need to make some changes to, we're going to need to pull some of those levers on the way the program works in order for the program to exist as it does today.
Yeah, I guess I would, I think that those should be explored. I guess I'll just say that at this point. And then when pulling whichever lever it is, how much does that save us?
Yep.
Looking at things like that. But we can't just keep going in this direction with this line item.
Yep.
Because it's a fairly new, line item in our budget, and it keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's at some point, we got to check it, and we got to pull back.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I don't agree. It's a fairly unique service that you don't see in a lot of other places. And maybe they do something similar, but I don't think a lot of places allow you to take a lift whenever you want to, wherever you want.
Nice. Okay, those are my concerns and my thoughts. I
Sounds like you got volunteered for the advisory committee.
Chair. Sam, you want to add something?
Yeah, I had a question while we're talking about the possibility of growth. Forgive for.
Could you come up to the mic, Sam?
Yeah, sorry. So my question, and I maybe will regret asking it because maybe I'm giving myself a homework project, but what is the population that this program could apply to versus the population that is in the program. Because that would determine how much more it could grow, right? If we've already capped it with certain things. So if we're already getting 80% of all people, then it can't double in size. But if we're only getting 50%, then it could double. Do you know what I mean? So like the rate of growth is determined by who's eligible. So if we have a better understanding of the eligible pool, then we would know that better right size.
We look forward to your report.
I think the annoying answer is it's a moving target. Given the parameters of the age and disability. This folks.
Yeah, and I think March, what do we have, about 7,000 people over 60?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I don't know how many
I'll be-
people we have in town that are 300% or less of the poverty level.
right, and that's the number that's really exploding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that for the disabled section of it, we have a lot of people signed up, but I don't think we're getting a ton of people using it because they have the ride, and the ride also uses Lyft and Uber. So they usually will use that first because it's cheaper, and they only start to use us when they don't have an option.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jim?
I'm not sure if Marge is the right person, or John, or Patrick, but can we get the whole package, the criteria, the levers? You say we have levers. Can you itemize the levers and say, oh, the hours of this time, the days of the week? Can we get everything like bulleted or sent to us so that we can look at it and say, okay, red line this here, or change this here, or kind of what you were saying, Sam. Look at the criteria, look at the hours, look at the days of the week, look at the limitations, look at have them pay the first $2 and we pay $5 or something like that. Look at all of those things all in one big email or something that we can look at and say, okay, what about this? What about that? So we have a physical document we can look at and start chipping away at it.
Yeah.
All right.
And just to add to that, I don't know if you said this and I was zoning out, but I'd also like to see if there are other options in town for rides for seniors. What are those? And are those being fully utilized? I know we have the van, or the vans.
We have a minivan and a minibus. Yeah, and they're utilized.
Right.
Yeah, this is something I think we'll probably have to put together a subcommittee or something to take a look at. What's the timetable on us trying to kind of lock this down?
Well, I would say that given that the most growth has been recently, then we're not going to have any better data by town meeting. So I think the best bet is to find out where the pain threshold is for the program, and then continue to gather the data to figure out what the cap, to then fit under that cap of the program, and whether that's changing who's allowed to take it, when they're allowed to take it, how much we pay for it. Like, those are all the easy parts to do, once we know when the growth's going to.
As a town that really, I mean, if we're being honest, doesn't have great public transportation, this is not going away. And I think another thing we have to look at is the tipping point of when is it economically feasible or viable to bring back the Beeline bus or run a busing system of our own, if that's a better solution. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I think the data in town here is that it isn't. It wasn't used nearly as much as this, but it was also the only game in town then.
maybe it was ahead of its time.
Well, it was a self-begotten, right? I mean, every year ridership went down, costs went up, ridership went down, right? And town meeting finally said, why are we subsidizing? I think it was like the last number was like $122,000, and they were like, we're done, no more after this, and then they decommissioned the program. Whereas this is door to door, anytime you need it, right? And so the convenience factor is real friggin' high, right? So I think like one of the big questions we have to ask ourselves is, how much convenience can we offer in a subsidized fashion before it's too big of a pain threshold for us to handle. And until we know what that is for us, and then what our options are to achieve it, or, you know, what that Venn diagram of options looks like, you know, it's the same, we're right back to square one, just with a different, you know, problem range.
Yeah, definitely something we go round and round and all night, but
Right.
something we have to kind of get a look at, and thank you for bringing it to our attention, because it's something we can all start thinking about. All right. Moving on.
Do you want to vote?
Thank you.
I'm not sure if you voted the budgets as we went through them.
Nope.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
If I may,
Anyone have any budgets they want to hold?
No, but I do have to abstain from accounting.
okay, we can do that separate.
Okay,
So
we'll take a
I'm going to
motion.
make a motion, but I have to ask John, do I have to state the number and the department?
Just as presented.
All right. So I make a motion, we approve town meeting reports, select board, town administration, legal, human services, human resources, conservation, seal of weights and measures, and council on aging.
As presented.
As presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? That's 4-0.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve town accountant budget as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
And I'm an aye, so that's 3-0-1 on that one. All right, are we done with, we think we finished our budgets. Next, we need an approval.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye, good night. DPW sewer easements.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was one of the articles that was at town meeting in January, where we were going to release a sewer easement, but because of the way the easement was received by the town, it had to go to town meeting first. Now that that's happened, the last step is for the select board to take a vote to do that. In your backup, you do have a motion that was given to us by Lisa Mead's office. I have a printed one if anybody would.
I can read it. Do you want me to read it? Or
Yeah,
should I-
any questions or comments before we
No?
make a motion? All right.
Sort of the housekeeping for the final step for that process.
Yeah, it was approved by town meeting and all that, so it's just a,
So I hereby move that the Select Board pursuant to Article 10 of the January 26, 2026 Annual Town Meeting terminate a portion of a sewer easement shown as 20 sewer easement, shown on a plan of land entitled Plan of Easement in Burlington, Massachusetts, Burlington Water and Sewer District, dated March 3rd, 1967, prepared by Whitman and Howard and recorded in the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds in Book 11314, page 164, located on the property at 6 Elm Street, Burlington, Massachusetts. And further to authorize the chair, Michael W. Espejo, to execute and enter into any and all documents necessary to carry out this vote.
Second.
motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Chair's also aye. That's 4-0 approval. Moving on to subcommittee reports. Anyone want to go first?
I'll go first.
Hey, Jim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as you may or may not be aware, last night we had an apartment building fire in Burlington. Number 1 Hallmark Gardens. It was on a very cold night with a lot of snow. It was very difficult work, but our outstanding firefighters did a great job. A couple of them did suffer minor injuries, but nothing serious. One resident did suffer second-degree burns. She was transported to the hospital. It was located on the second floor of Hallmark Gardens, has a floor at the low grade, and then they have a floor, story 1 and story 2 above it. So the fire was on the second floor, or the top floor, let me say the top floor, in an apartment. Fortunately, the unit below was vacant, so that just, someone else's property didn't get damaged. The firefighters had to make forced entry into the unit because of the conditions. And at the same time, they received an unrelated call from Lord Barron, which is abuts Hallmark Gardens, of a male burn victim. Turns out it was a separate incident, separate case, totally not related to the apartment fire at Hallmark Gardens. It's just because of the proximity of the two buildings and fire and a burn victim, initially, I don't say it didn't cause confusion. I listened to the whole incident and on my radio, and it was an unbelievably well-orchestrated event as far as the firefighters go. Captain Kevin Policelli commanded the scene and did an amazing job. It was unbelievable. That got clarified. There was that medical was going on. Then they had 2 other medicals during this time. Then they had a report of natural gas inside the mall. It was just like a perfect storm of fire-related incidents. We requested mutual aid, and on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank the fire departments of Lexington, Bedford, Woburn, Wilmington, Billerica, Reading, and Stoneham for their assisting with the fire at scene or covering the station, the firefighting at the scene or the station. The police, I've been told they did a great job detouring the traffic, because when you have a fire, you have water, and it was freezing, below freezing. So now you have dangerous, icy conditions. In addition to the police setting up the detours, without incident, everything went smooth on the detours. DPW was on scene as well, because now they have to mitigate the ice. So we're there to help with snow removal, with putting sand and salt down. But with regards to the subject of snow removal, one of the outside fire agencies went to go set up a line at the fire hydrant, but they couldn't find it because it was buried in snow. So they were unable to locate that hydrant. Fortunately, our firefighters went out yesterday during the day and hand shoveled as many hydrants that they could in that one day. So had that not happened, we don't know if it would have been worse, if the fire would have burned longer, but they were able to contain it, relatively quickly, again, under Captain Policelli's command. And DPW was right there to help them dig out a few as well. But what I'm leading to is that we're also asking for the public, if there's a fire hydrant near your house, if you're able to, please try to clear it out, because think about that. That fire hydrant's near your house. What if your house was to have an event like this? You want that water accessible to help minimize damage and protect as much of your property as you can. I've spent a long time with the fire chief on the phone today, and we're going to work with Kate from the police department, because she's great with social media. Talk to Laura. We're going to work on getting more social media presence for the fire department, and one of those aspects would be to communicate, please help clean out hydrants, along with other fire-related information. The building is uninhabited at this time and will be for an undetermined amount of time, and the Red Cross is assisting the female that got burned, and I'm assuming they're helping the other residents as well. But kudos to the fire department. That could have been a big tragedy. There were people in the building. They got them out safely. Again, one injury to a resident, and that was caused by trying to extinguish the fire. But we had a big fire, and everyone's here today to talk about it. So kudos to them, police, fire department, police, DPW. There's a group called 10 smokers or smokies or something like that. They go around and provide coffee and gloves and stuff and sand to the firefighters. It was just a horrible event, but it was well coordinated, and you could see I've seen the videos, you've seen the videos, the photos. They did a fantastic job. Horrible event, but fantastic job in knocking that fire down as quickly as possible. That is my only report.
Thank you, Jim.
I can go next.
Go ahead.
Nick?
We've been talking a lot about things around my subcommittee, so I don't have a subcommittee report so much as I want to say, number one, I hope parents are doing okay. We're coming off of February vacation, and that was extended, 2 days because of the storm. So I stand in solidarity with all parents who have been making it work, because it's been a doozy this winter. We've gotten hit with a couple of big storms. And whenever we talk about cold weather, when we talk about, snow, just keep an eye on your neighbors, right? Accidents happen all the time. Maybe someone doesn't have their phone on them, or they fall unconscious for, a variety of reasons. Just keep an eye on your neighbors. It's the best thing you can do, looking out for each other. And then, to dovetail into what Jim was saying around keeping fire hydrants clean, 110%. But also as a reminder, if you live on a street, if you're on the sidewalk side like I am, it does not hurt to snow blow and or shovel your area of the sidewalk.
Oh, you have a sidewalk.
It's crazy, right? So if you have a sidewalk, keep the area passable, right? There are kids trying to walk to school. There are people who walk their dogs, people who take walks, people who use the infrastructure. And, I have to walk my kids to the bus stop, and it's a house and a half away, and there I am in the street, because the sidewalk and the road is just kind of gross right now. And I know that we come through with town equipment, right? But I mean, it can only do so much. And so if you can, even just throwing some rock salt down. I say rock salt, sodium chloride, safe stuff. It's the best thing you can do. And then as a gentle reminder, there is no street parking. I've been around town, I've seen a bunch of cars parked on the street, plowed in from this last storm. And it kind of boggles my mind, right? Like during the winter months, there is no overnight street parking. Please get your cars into a driveway or into a garage somewhere where it can be. Otherwise, you're going to get plowed in. It makes the road conditions more unsafe for our plow drivers, for people who are driving, for people who are trying to use the roadways after a storm. Now the streets are considerably more narrow than they would be if that car wasn't there. So just please do your part as a member of our community. To keep the roads as safe as humanly possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for Council on Aging, our senior prom is coming up, our annual event, on Thursday, April 3rd from 6 to 10 at Cafe Escadrille, and those tickets are going on sale next week on March 2nd. So reach out to the Council on Aging if you want to attend that. It's a really great event. Everyone looks forward to it, and it's a really fun night. So, and then just one other thing, we do have a local election coming up in April, and so gearing up for that, there will be various opportunities to meet with candidates or at the Council on Aging on March 10th. They have a candidate afternoon. So that's Tuesday, March 10th at 1 p.m. in the Murray Kelly wing of Council on Aging. It's another great event. There are some familiar faces running this year, but we also have some brand new faces and new names running for townwide seats or for town meeting seats. So that is a great opportunity to get to know your candidates, those who are going to be representing you or running to represent you. So you can learn about those candidates, again, Tuesday, March 10th at Council on Aging at 1 p.m. But look out for any other opportunities to meet with your candidates, and so you can be an informed voter in April. And I don't have the date of the election if anybody else does, but I just know it's in April. But keep an eye out for that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, you guys are making it easy tonight, taking all the things I want to mention. I want to echo what Jim said. Thank you to Burlington Fire and the surrounding towns that assisted us, along with DPW and police. Everyone kind of pitching in. It sounds like a rough night and a confluence of events, especially after that big, huge storm that made it a tougher night than it already was. So it's just goes to show that we're very lucky here in Burlington to have such great town departments and emergency response teams, and you owe them a great debt of gratitude. As Nick said, there's a lot of snow out there. Clean up where you can, not only just your mailbox. I mean, fire hydrants is a great point made by Jim, and sidewalks if you have them. I know that a lot of people are frustrated with snow removal, but it's just a lot of snow. There's not a lot of places to put it. So any little help you can give, and, you know, for your neighbors that may, check on your neighbors that may need it. It's been a rough winter, and I think we're all looking forward to spring. And that's really all I had. Town administrator report.
I echo a few of those thoughts. I want to thank the DPW. That was a lot of heavy, wet snow, and not a great place to put it. So as you know, they do the streets and get them safe, and do lots and get them safe, and then get back to the sidewalks. I thank all the residents for their patience, and continue to let the DPW know. They're out there doing sidewalks still right now. So they're working hard to get caught up, and, you know, fingers crossed we don't get another one of these next week. Like, sounds like it might be it. The election is April 11th. The Economic Development Summit first forum is March 18th. We do have another meeting before that, so you'll hear us all probably mention that again. But this one will be concentrated on the office market in town, the commercial office market. So that'll be a great follow-ups for smaller business in town center and other things like that. But this is the kickoff one, so we hope to have a great crowd there. And the third edition of the town newsletter went out today. So you should all have it in your email box. For those that don't, that are watching, please go on the website and sign up for it. Or call the town administrator's office. We'll get you signed up if you need help. And then what we'll start at the next meeting is have a regularly monthly update on the police station. We'll maybe bring some pictures next time and just talk about where we are. You know, everybody knows how we made out on the budget. Everybody has seen that the building is down. Now there's just a big pile of dirt over there as they do some earthwork, and foundations are starting. We do finally have access to update the police station website, so we'll have a link on our site for folks to go see that. We've been very lucky. We have heard from neighbors, but believe it or not, it was compliments, so you don't get that a lot. And then last night I was at the Fox Hill School Building Committee meeting where they announced the results of their bids, and it was very favorable, and had the same results that we had with the police station, several $1 million of potential cost avoidance there. So same thing, we used $5 million to seed that funding of free cash, so we'll likely have more than $10 million. We won't have to bond for that project too. So good news on both. I was going to announce the winner of the bid, but we don't have a contract yet, so I'll wait till next week.
Okay, with that, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. 4-0, we're adjourned.